What is going on, YouTube family? Tonight we're going to talk about a technique that's really taken the industry by storm and one that's become extremely popular in recent months. It's kind of been stigmatized as a West Coast bait to go out and catch giant largemouth bass, but you're seeing it move across the country and become a staple in a lot of guys' tackle boxes. If you guys haven't guessed it yet, or couldn't guess it by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about swim bait fishing. Now, for those of you guys that watch my videos a lot, you know that my passion is really in going out and catching giant smallmouth bass. So what I'm going to do is tailor this video and teach you guys how to take these tips and techniques and apply them to going out and catching those big smallmouth. So what I'm going to do is talk about baits as big as your standard and most recognized glide baits, all the way down to your small 3-inch soft plastic paddle tail swim bait. And this is where we're going to start. Now, your soft plastic paddle tail swim bait is no longer a secret for smallmouth bass. You've seen it. If you guys follow the Elite series, you know that the soft plastic paddle tail swim bait is no longer a secret. Guys are winning on tour, throwing this bait for big smallmouth. Chris Zaldain did it at Sturgeon Bay where he smoked those fish, and then Jacob Porosnik went up to the UP with all the Upers and absolutely put a hurting on those fish with a Kitech with a little jig head on the front. So this isn't a secret anymore, but there are two ways that I like to rig this bait. The first is on an underspin. For those of you guys that watch my videos this season, you know that I caught a ton of big fish on this bait. And the reason I like the underspin as opposed to a standard jig head is this right here. This blade gives those fish a little bit something extra to key in on, and in my opinion will help you draw a couple extra bites to the boat, especially when those fish are super aggressive. However, you can also rig it on a standard jig head. This here is the Dirty Jigs Matt Allen swim bait head with a 5-inch Bass Magnet Lure shifter shad. These are my two ways that I'm going to rig a soft plastic paddle tail swim bait, with the exception of an Alabama rig. That's also an option too, but that's for a different video. Now, what you'll notice is that I have two different sizes here. Now, there are two main factors that come into play when I'm choosing what size swim bait I want to throw. The first is time of year. If the water is super cold, I'm typically going to go with a smaller swim bait. A lot of times the bait is going to be smaller, so those fish typically, I mean this is a generality, those fish typically are going to want a smaller bait. However, in the fall time or in the dead heat of summer, when those fish are feeding on some little bit bigger bait, I might go up to this 5-inch size. The other factor is whatever the fish want. I'll have two different baits rigged up, one in the 3.5-inch, one in the 5-inch, and I'll throw them until those fish tell me what size bait they want to eat. So really just let the fish tell you what they want. What I love about this setup, what I love about these soft plastic paddle tail swim baits is you can throw them all year long. With the exception of maybe the dead heat of summer, I will always have a soft plastic paddle tail swim bait rigged up if I'm going out and fishing for smallmouth. Now, bait number two, and it's one that's very similar, is a soft plastic hollow body swim bait. Now, the difference here is a hollow body swim bait is going to have a lot wider kick and a lot wider action for you. This here is the 6 Sense Lures hollow body, hollow core swim bait in the 5-inch size. When I'm going to throw this is when those fish want something that kicks a little bit harder. I might go to a hollow body swim bait, or when those fish are feeding up in the pre-spawn or in the fall. That's when I'm going to choose this, maybe over a soft plastic paddle tail swim bait. This here is in the Gizzard Shad color from 6 Sense Lures. Another great color anytime you're targeting smallmouth is the natural perch color, which you can get from Bass Tricks on Tackle Warehouse. I would leave your hollow body swim baits in the original packaging they come in. Your packaging is molded so that your swim baits will lay perfectly in there. If you go out and put these in a normal tackle box, you might get the tails folded over, and if that happens, your bait won't run through. So I recommend leaving your baits in the standard packaging that they come in. The third swim bait technique that I'm going to tell you guys about is one that some of you might find a little bit interesting, but it's a great way to catch fish in the dead heat of summer when those fish are feeding on bait fish. A lot of times in the heat of summer, those fish don't want to eat that big meal, or they'll get hunkered down in the deep water or around grass beds and just not really want to chase down their meals. What I'm going to do is drop shot. Now, a lot of you guys are kind of confused by that. You're thinking, how are you going to drop shot a swim bait? But the thing is, you're not drop shotting this. What you're doing is you're downsizing. You're taking a little swim bait like this. This here is a Missile Bait Shockwave and 3.5 inches long. And you're going to take a straight shank worm hook. This here is the Decoy worm hook in the 3/0 size. Or you can take the new Nico rig hooks. And you're going to use this as your drop shot hook. So what you're going to do is take your straight shank worm hook and you're going to rig your bait, thread your bait onto that hook. What you want is for your bait to stand straight out off of that hook. And the reason I recommend using a straight shank worm hook as opposed to a standard drop shot hook is it's going to help you with hookup ratio. Your bait is going to be more exposed and it's going to give those fish more hook area to grab. So that's what your bait's going to look like after you rig it onto your drop shot. And what I really like to do is fish this around current, because when you're in current, that paddle tail is going to wag side to side and it's going to look just like a bait fish in the water. So this here on a drop shot is a great way to go out and catch big smallmouth. The fourth technique I'm going to talk about, and one that has gotten a lot of recognition, is throwing a Megabass mag draft. These mag drafts are widely known as being great largemouth bass catchers, but they also will catch those big smallmouth. As you can see, this here is in a bait fish color. This is called nude bass, but to me it represents a perch pretty well. And where I'm going to throw this is around open water and around contour changes. I'm going to throw this again in the same places and same time of year that I would throw my standard paddle tail and hollow body swim baits. This bait here is going to really excel anytime those fish are feeding on perch or bait fish and are willing to chase your bait. So you're going to want to throw this in the pre-spawn through the very early summer, and then again in the fall and late fall time periods when those fish are willing to move and chase your baits. So the fifth technique I want to talk to you guys about, and one that is probably the most widely known swim bait in the world, is a Huddleston swim bait. This here is a Huddleston 68 Special. It is a 6-inch Huddleston swim bait with an 8-inch tail. And this is a great way to catch fish that are relating to the bottom. The way you're going to fish this bait is cast this bait out, let it sink to the bottom, and painstakingly, slowly reel this bait back to the boat. This is going to be a great bait when those fish are relating to forage that is along the bottom, whether it be gobies or perch that are related to the bottom. When those fish are looking down for their meal, this is going to be a great way to get bit. That Huddleston bait is one I'm super excited about because I think those big smallmouth are going to annihilate that bait. When you're crawling that along the bottom, those fish are going to look at it. It looks exactly like a perch. Those fish are going to crush that bait this year. Now the last topic that I want to talk to you guys about is throwing your glide baits. Now this bait here is the Dual Twitchin' Ninja Hardcore Swim Bait. This is just over 7 inches long in the Chartreuse Imago color, I believe. This bait here, which is one of the most widely recommended glide baits for beginners, as well as this Dual Twitchin' Ninja Hardcore glide bait, is a way that I really want to go out and make work for me to catch fish this year. When I think this bait is really going to shine is anytime that you can go out and catch fish on a jerkbait. Anytime those fish are looking up, looking for a big meal that is just swimming in front of their face, just like a jerkbait, I think this bait is really going to shine. When those fish are in the pre-spawn mood, and again when they're in the fall feed, when they're out there looking for a big meal to really feed up, either to spawn or again getting ready for winter. That is when I'm super excited to throw these baits, because I'm sure they're going to get crushed by these big smallmouth bass. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something from it. I know I covered a lot of different baits very quickly. So if you have any comments or questions, let me know in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll also leave links to all these baits and all the tackle used in the description below, so you guys can go and check it out. If you want to buy any of this or look into any of the baits that I mentioned. If you haven't yet, click subscribe. It'll notify you anytime I post a new video, so you guys can keep up with my content, and go check out some of my older content where I go out and catch some big smallmouth bass. Tune in this Sunday at 7 p.m. I'm going to have my buddy Shay Baker on my live stream. He's the owner of Uploaded Fishing and is a great fisherman. So there's going to be lots of great content coming out. I'm going to try to get Alex Rudd on there with me as well. And if everything pans out, it'll be Shay Baker, myself, and Alex Rudd. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and as always, take care. Tight lines.